the best episode of the Bald Box. I know because the questions I have here are the best. And I'm joined today by two of the sexiest bald niggas in this bitch, in this like side of the continent. One is a doctor, one is a sportsman and chef. And these guys are brothers who have inspired me to be a better version of myself. Like every time I watch them online, I'm like, hey, Bien, put in the work, do something new, you know, like create. You inspire me to create, and I'm so glad that you guys are here. On my right, please introduce yourself, Daktari.
Yo, what it is? It's Dr. Rain, aka the hip hop doctor, aka the pediatrician with biceps.
Yeah.
Asante, Chama. Pleasure.
Dr. Rain is also married to my sister, so he's my brother-in-law.
Yes.
Yeah, and by my sister I mean Della. Della is just my sister forever, man. Like
soon to be Uncle Bien.
Soon to be Uncle Bien. Inashika mimi people watu wamenifanya Uncle Nairobi.
Yeah,
grandfather nimebaki. Lakini nimefurahi like when Adele, I couldn't want anybody better for my sister than you. Wow. Like you're an amazing guy. You're committed to her in a way that really makes me want to be committed to my wife. Like I see you just going all out for Adele, and she deserves it, you know. And you make her so happy, man. Wow. Yeah. Thanks, so bless bro. You. Always remember you are a blessing.
That's like coming from a guy, man. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. I try. Najaribu I know what she is. I know the gem that she is. I know that the fire, the greatness that she is and what she means to you guys. So yeah, Maze, lazima ni hold down sister.
On my left, Maze, the chef Ray.
What's up? Of course, Dennis Ombachi, or as many people know me, the roaming chef. Dennis Ombachi, probably you'll know me from rugby yeah. And the roaming chef from the other clout chasing stuff on the internet using phone.
Kuna alter ego, sindio? Like you have two lives.
Yeah, or three.
I love to Twitter nimse mengine. Amazing, man.
I'm a different person. You know, online, of course, online is... Twitter has its own fake. You have to be...
So who are you on Twitter?
On Twitter, I'm a bit ruthless.
Oh.
Yeah, outside here, I'm human. On Twitter, I take you as you come.
Fucking love it, yeah. And you're a dad.
Oh, yeah. The excitement is still there. The work is getting a bit more, you know. You know, just being a dad, you know, 2 times in a row, 2 years in a row. It's a special feeling, a humbling. You many humble kidogo.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, especially getting, like with the son, you know. Yeah. With the son, there's that happiness, of course, the machismo, everything, just thumping. But with a daughter, you know, all of a sudden I also feel vulnerable.
Wow.
You know, I just can't explain.
I think you make an amazing dad. Like you make fatherhood look like something I would want to do, you know.
It's
and
fun.
I don't have kids yet. But just watching you do fatherhood, you look like you're doing it effortlessly. I know there's effort. Imagine you are say by the this guy hasn't slept.
Yeah, and the whole night we've been up and down because yesterday anatoa hizi meno za mwisho, so he's still teething, and so he had a fever of around 39. So like every other 2 hours, cold bath, you pat him with a towel, put him to sleep, he wakes up after 2 hours, and as he wakes up the other one also is crying over there because she circles after every other 3 minutes. So
yeah,
it's juggling.
It's crazy.
But it's a labor of love.
Exactly. And it takes you to do it, man. You're out here showing us the way. I appreciate it. Today, actually, I wanted to talk about health and fitness in general, not for just men, even women. And I'm going to ask questions that I think a lot of people who are going to watch this will find to be like useful, because we're living our lives in an era where everything is pharmaceutical. Mm-hmm. There's so many theories on fitness. There's so many theories on how to get an abs in 10 days. You know, like crazy. What do you eat? We're going to talk about nutrition a little bit, and then we're going to talk a lot about sex.
I love sex.
Yeah, fantastic. But now, do you anyway?
Haya.
So
Na
first of all,
mumeita
like-
Mkamba. Sawa.
Yeah, like, so the first question is about medical checkups. Like, how often should your average adult go for medical checkups? And what should we look out for? What should men look out for? What should women look out for? I know, like, it's a whole bunch of things, but from your experience, and do you go for medical checkups yourself? How many you check yourself?
I check myself, man. Most of the time I check myself. It's an interesting question, broad question, but I'll try to summarize it. Like, it's very important, I would say, for anybody below the age of 40, a medical checkup once a year is enough. So if you're under 40, once a year, just to get it right. But at the same time, if you're a person that is very active and moves a lot, whether you're an athlete or something, I would basically say, if you're not someone to go to hospital, get sick, get the hormones all the time, it basically means your immune system is adapting very well. So you really don't need to go for any medical checkup. But now after 40, that's when the body starts to change kidogo, and you need to really be conscious. The same way you metabolize the things you take every day is not the same after 40. That's just the body, because we all gonna die one day, so we have an expiry date. So as things go along, when you buy that car, over the years it doesn't perform the way it's supposed to perform. It's just natural. So after 40, things start changing. And we live in a world where there's so many things that change our body, what we call carcinogens, or things that can cause cancer. And after 40, for men especially, you want to check your prostate. You want to check for prostate cancer. Because
prostate exam ile unekelewa kidole hapo chini yake hapo.
I have an experience with that, and I didn't see it coming.
You didn't see it coming.
Because I remember it was a few years back, like 5 or 6 years ago. I was still in the GameSeVIEn, and over there, like we get lots of these body medical checkups. So we had gone, we did these ECGs, they checked our hearts, we did I don't know if we did a blood test, but then at some point the nurse told me that because I remember that, like, guys were coming out of the room. I remember Biko was the one who had come before me.
My nigga Biko.
Yeah, they just they don't tell you what's going on, but there's a certain look on their face, like they're shocked a bit, like someone is they come up on like some sort of PTSD. So when the nurse told me, okay, take off your pants, I'm like, okay, what are you going to examine? See, I thought you were done. But she said they were I don't know, checking for prostate, something around that.
Digital rectal exam.
Exactly,
Rectal examination.
And she stuck a finger up my ass and started feeling around. And it took me a week to recover from that. Because I was not expecting. Because me, I thought it was the usual, go there.
Let me just say, Dennis, like, as a doctor, and somebody expected, like, when you come and see a medical doctor, we are supposed to perform, depending on what your symptoms are, to perform a digital rectal examination. It guides us a lot. But let me tell you, as much as we know what we're looking for, as much as it is traumatizing
and
to
it feels
you,
funny.
Hey, unajua, like, literally,
in
think about
way.
it, bro. Fungua roho. Yeah, let's just be real about it. Like, anybody. Can you kwanza imagine madaktari mademu. Unajua, like, this is a woman coming to, like, first of all, as some people might feel like, oh shit, she's demasculizing me. Okay, I don't know about what words can I say about.
You just say what you're going to say.
Okay, so just being clear. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. So even for us, it's weird because as zingine, unajua, it's where it's like this big dude and you really don't want, you feel uncomfortable, like says this is my dad's age, and you have to put something to check, because that's usually the age. I'm talking 40 plus. So you also get traumatized because even that time you're even like, zile bro, unataka kufanya hii DRE. We usually call it DRE, digital rectal examination. Bro, si ufanye tu DRE, mi maze hapa siko comfortable, bro. So it's like, that's why I say, like, us, and that's what I do all the time. I try to humanize you know, the doctor, we have this thing of udi daktari mazini. It's no, we have, you know, we're humans. We just trained different. You went to learn a business degree. You did rugby. I went to learn about the human body.
Then you guys should work more on, you know,
yeah,
developing new ways
exactly.
of doing things.
I think there should be a counseling session before.
You know, I love this is because, and juzi tu nilikuwa nataka kuweka post about this is because we don't talk to the shareholder. We don't talk to the patient. We assume we know what they want. We assume we know what we feel. Until the day you become the patient, then you're like, hey, bro, this thing is different. You know? So I think such conversations need to happen more where you tell me your experience so and I tell you why it had to go that way, or I try to explain so that, you know,
maybe some counseling before that happened, like, you know, maybe some heads
definitely,
up, you know, what you're about to experience is something new. What I'm about to do, I'm sure nobody expected.
Exactly.
But that's what I do.
Exactly, bro. That's invasion. It's an invasive procedure. It's the same way when somebody does a spinal or a lumbar puncture, which is a hole up your spinal cord. You have to sign consent. They have to say, like, I'm going to do this invasive procedure. So ideally, it shouldn't have just been, walk in. It's not prison. You're not going to prison, bro. You're having an examination. You should sit down with the person one-on-one and say, hi, my name is Dr. So-and-so and so. I'm about to do the following procedure. Now, what it entitles is this and this and this, and I need to examine your rectum because I'm trying to check for A, B, C, D, E. Now, the reason I'm doing this A, B, C, D, E is because this check is necessary for A, B, C, D, E. Do you consent for me to be able to do the procedure? And that's called consent. Before you have any surgery, anything major, you must consent to it. But I must provide you with the information and you know, okay, it's for this. Oh, okay. Now, if you do it, okay, sawa.
All right. You guys have kids.
Still find better means.
Both of you have, okay, you have a son on the way. Congratulations, my brother.
Asante.
Hey,
no,
I'm excited. And you have two.
Yeah.
One new.
So far.
A newborn and a 2-year-old.
Hey. A newborn and a 1-year-old.
And a 1-year-old.
14 months. Yeah.
Hey, nice, man. You're going for the hat trick.
No.
Was it how has fatherhood just changed you in terms of also concerning your kids' health? Like, are you healthier now that you have kids? Because do you watch what you eat? Do you watch what you... I don't know.
I think having kids actually didn't make me like watch what I eat. But the fact that the foods I prepare for my kids are like what you normally want like a healthy person to be eating, because you can't be feeding a kid like this processed meat. So the more like I'm feeding my kids, especially like the 1-year-old, like how I prepare his food, even the amounts of salt, the more I see how terrible we actually eat like on the side. Because at some point it gets, you know, there are some meals like when you're having chicken soup, as long as I've prepared it like properly, he eats it. But it gets to a point you're like 60% of what we eat we can't feed him, and it's because it's going to harm him, because I think there are organs that can't handle lots of that. So it actually hit me like I don't really eat as healthy as I think.
But you know you're a sportsman and you're coming from a background where nutrition is everything. Like you've played pro.
Yeah.
What was your nutrition like when you're playing pro? And
the thing about sports and nutrition, because we didn't really have like a rule book of nutrition. Speaking for myself, because I used to eat what I felt like eating. Of course, there are limits. You can't tell me you're craving a pizza, then you eat a pizza every day. But portion wise, I didn't really control much of it, because I knew at the end of the day, like tomorrow, the output I'm going to be putting in the pitch, at the end of the day, it's going to need even more supplements. So nutrition for me, like when I was doing sport, it was more of what I get from, what nutrients I'll get from, let's say, chicken, the veggies, not counting calories. I never... Actually, I don't think there's any person playing rugby or sports who counts their calories. I think you come in sync with your body. You know what you've eaten, and you know the work you need to do
to kill that
for what you've been eating. Yeah. So and that's actually the mantra like I'm using outside here. Like I'm almost approaching retirement. I don't like really have a specific diet. Like, okay, I need to eat veggies, this portion and this. I just eat regularly, but you know your limits.
Yeah.
Like I know if I've eaten, like I've indulged for like a bit of 3 days. They also find other fun ways of eating healthy. I know I can eat in some way in moderation without like stressing yourself, because for me dieting is the most stressful thing in the world.
Yeah, hey man, like I've been on different kinds of diets in my life. I found like the vegan diet being the best of all of them, but I love meat. You know, like meat is the integral part of how my endorphins operate and how good I feel.
Engoho
Hata si kuku. Kuku imenibo. Kuku nimekula sana. Let's talk about lifestyle diseases, man. Like men who are black are more susceptible to high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Than any other race. Daktari, is it true ama hiyo ni kapuka fact?
So there's always this thing that I have a problem with in our science world or in our scientific world, medical world. All the diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, cervical cancer, you name it. So when you look, when we look at diseases, we always want to know the cause. So what we call the etiology. And they will always be in most of these lifestyle diseases. One of the causes or the risks would always be black or ethnic background or Asian background or colored background. But when you do your research, you find that this minority group is one of the most underdeveloped and most under-researched groups, where people, the reality is we come from a world, we come from a white world, and science is more or less from a white world. And the minority has never been given a chance. So a lot of the times is that because we haven't done the research to understand the cause in these black groups, it's easier for us to just classify or categorize them as, they're a cause to this particular disease. But we never really look at what we call in research confounders, where it's like, okay, maybe they're black, but maybe these people are having diabetes and high blood pressure because we're not educating these people about nutrition and the correct type of foods to eat.
Yeah.
Because if you look at African food and you look at the African plate, that's just diabetes and high blood pressure waiting to act.
What's the African plate?
What's an African plate?
African plate. Ile mlima. Mwenda, have you guys ever been to a wedding or the African household where there's a mountain of food? You talked about. You have your protein and nini. People don't look at it like that. People will hound on the carbohydrates. You'll have a big plate of. Now, this is the African plate. A big portion
of carbohydrate,
of ugali or inshima or pap or fufu or whatever it is you call it exactly. It's due to poverty. Yeah. And that's where the whole kwashako marasmus came in place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Africa is a country that has the worst form of malnutrition because right now we have two types of malnutrition. We have undernutrition, which we have always been famous for. The skinny kid with flies on the face and that's the African child, that's undernutrition. And then now we have a different kind of overnutrition where people are getting obese because now we are, educated a little bit. We are more privileged. We know our worth. We're getting a bit more money. We have more processed foods. We have, the fast food chains all over the place within Africa. So we're having kids and when a kid does well, this is how we reward them with these foods, with these fast foods. And we're having I'm a pediatrician, bro. I'm seeing 5-year-olds with the weight of 75 kgs. I'm seeing 2-year-olds. I'm seeing 2-year-olds with the weight of 50 kgs. Wow. So we're dealing with different types of malnutrition. We're dealing with overnutrition that was high in the West, and we're dealing with undernutrition that is really infamous for underdeveloped countries. So it all boils down to, so when you say black, when you say Asian, these are the same places that are developing countries. These are the countries that are considered poor countries. But they're poor countries because the rich countries raped everything they could of these countries to keep them as poor countries. Now, because of these very same people, we don't have the means to do the necessary research. And you also don't want to waste your time, because healthcare is a business and healthcare is capitalism. We're not going to get much profit from understanding why this disease is happening in blacks, because they can't afford the price of insulin. They can't afford the price of high blood pressure medication. It's the same reason why antibiotic resistance is real. They don't want to develop new antibiotics. We Africans can't afford it. So why produce it?
So, and what about, because I've seen a couple of documentaries, was like, that's how most of us absorb knowledge. A few I've read a few articles about, like black people, and let's say black men and Hispanic men, like they are more genetically predisposed to get these lifestyle diseases. So is that a myth?
It's true. It's not a myth. I think when you look at, so when we do studies, when you do research and studies, you have what you call your cohorts. So when they fall in, when you put them in that cohort, yes, black people, those people seem to be more prone to these diseases. But that's why I'm saying, like, you always have to look at something we call confounders. So that's the cohort, black people, Asian people. But most of the minority groups, even in the States, and we saw this happening with COVID and the pandemic, you would see that those people, even in terms of vaccination rates, the minorities, the black people, the brown people in the States, you could feel it. It's the same way our vaccination rates in these black and brown countries are there. So because we are never a priority, because we never do very, very good studies, there's always confounders. But yes, there are certain diseases, there are certain cancers that do have a predisposition to, the black skin and things like, especially skin cancer. Certain skin cancers, you might find that it's even more common in black people, And so those are things that are there, but I'd also like us to have an open mind that,
to know
you have to understand the quality or the evidence. These documentaries, I always tell people, you might have heard something, but for us researchers, we believe in the pyramid of evidence, and the top of the pyramid is usually, there are different ways, and at the bottom of the pyramid of evidence is documentaries and blogs and clicks and all those things. And then you go according to it. So the better the quality, the more I can inform you and say this is this. Because I don't believe in saying
the blanket accusations of Africa is like this.
Bas.
Thank you for the wokeness there. We needed it. And actually I feel like that's more a call to action for us to emancipate ourselves by researching on ourselves. I know people are already doing it, by the way. I wouldn't be ignorant of the fact that it's not being done. It's being done somewhere. So I will lend my voice and my future billions towards research.
Thank you. I'm glad I have that voice.
Hey, do you have I think the most researched topic by all the men in this room is when everyone goes to MD doctor to check if the symptoms they're suffering are from some STD after some escapade in our 20s. There's some people in this room who,
unapata hormone overthinking.
Kitu basi umekuwa for long basi. Umeshaingia hivi MD doctor, umeanza kupiga hapo mental mathematics utakumbuka mara mwisho kitu kwa ile story.
Wallahi mimi sijaikuwa na hiyo kitu.
So of course because you're a doctor and you understand the anatomy in a different way.
Maybe.
But after ratchet night out in uni, there are many moments when you find yourself in the morning and you've done that thing, you've hit it raw, and now the regret checks in. So I want to talk about that anxiety of regret.
Okay.
And the first thing that people do is they go to MD doctor and start Googling as if all the symptoms are going to come to you at once. But let's talk about STDs, man. Where is Kenya, first of all, on the STD chart? Are we flying high? Are our STDs getting lower? Are young people having more sex? Protected than unprotected?
Yo, I'm so glad you're bringing that up because
Ombachi, ukona my moments.
Yeah.
No, I think when you put it that way,
my moments, my 20s. Yeah, mawazo.
When you put it that way, hey, una discover it's raw. Like, you could even be having a condom, but shit
Upate lot of the rings.
Yeah.
Ulikuwa na made in China, shauri yako. And then you work kwanza, hey, for me as a doctor, yeah, definitely, you're like, oh shit, what's going to happen? But it's never been, honestly speaking, it's never been those extremes of you guys MD doctor nini. There's only been one extreme. The only one extreme is HIV.
Okay.
That was the only one extreme because we understand HIV has no cure.
Yeah.
This is something you live with for your whole life. And I think it's the reason why I am 34 and I've never been a dad. It's because I understood, and I think basically my high school was in Botswana, which at the time was the number one country in the world.
In the world.
Botswana. There was a time Botswana in the 90s, in the late 90s, early 2001, it was the highest in the world. HIV.
So, like what percentages are we talking about here when we say the highest in the world?
Like 1 in 3 people.
Yeah, I'd say 1 in 3 people.
That's high.
But
1 in 3 people. It was those ones of, like, when you've gotten it, it's those ones of, okay, sawa, I've gotten it.
That like this Corona right
especially now when there was when ARV started coming in place and USAID and it became a proper like pandemic. So that time it was like you get hive. The guys know ARVs are coming for free. USAID is coming through, and it's a small population, 1 million. So they were like, nimepata tu mdudu.
What structures are there for someone who's like been, who's maybe had a lot of the ring situation? Ama mpigana tu fry na regret. Kuna structures gani kujiprotect? Unaenda hosi upewe. Oh, sorry. Let me speak in English.
Especially if you get it.
Yeah. So if you're I'm just saying you've just gone. You've had a wild night out, and you have your hours there. You're thinking about what you do with your life. What do you think somebody in that situation should do immediately?
So nowadays life is good, guys. We have what you call like PP, prophylaxis. So if you think you went in and you're not sure of this person's status, you can start prophylaxis antiretroviral drugs, which will prevent you from contracting HIV. So that's step 1.
Even if they were positive.
Even if they were positive. Because even if they were positive and you start taking that, so how can I get into this without getting too scientific? So basically what those drugs do, like how we know COVID, COVID and spike protein, now you guys know about viruses.
Yeah.
HIV basically has almost the same, doesn't really have a spike protein. So basically what those drugs do, they prevent from these different things that attach to our cells from attaching. So they prevent that, they cause a break in a reaction. So when you take those ARVs, even if that person had the virus or whatever, it targets the replication or the virus being able to attach and replicate, blah, blah, blah. So it prevents that from happening. And if it prevents that from happening, it means that virus can't accumulate, it will eventually die to be cleared by your own immunity. So basically that's what antiretroviral drugs do. So if you do feel you don't know that person's status. But nowadays we have,
what's
rapid
the time
tests.
limit for that?
Bro, I'll be honest, I don't know the time limit, but I would say that if you've had it, I think it's within 48 hours. Usually we say that you need to start it within 48 hours of contact. And if it's within 48 hours, then you're good. The drugs can act quick enough.
Kama kuna maswali uliza sahi.
Can you get them without a prescription?
Funny enough, yes.
they're available.
Nowadays you can, because like not everybody will go to like a consultant to say, hey, this accident happened. This could have been on the weekend. Your consultant is not in the clinic. He's coming on Monday, and this happened on a Friday, on Saturday, Sunday, and you're being told 48 hours. So it's one of those things. The same way as with women, they might have an emergency and they had sex and the condom broke or whatever, and they need emergency family planning. And that's how you go and get the famous drug that has the number 2. I don't want to mention that everybody knows, But yeah, so it's basically, the drug that, everybody just, it's nowadays, you see the sad thing is with the youth. Unajua watu wamesahau kule HIV imetoka. HIV used to be what COVID is today.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, what COVID is today, that's what HIV was in the 90s. And the same thing happening today with COVID, with vaccines and Africans not having the same equal access to them. The same thing was happening with HIV. That's how you have players like Magic Johnson who had HIV back in the 90s who are alive today because they had access to those drugs. And those drugs cost thousands of dollars that average people in Africa couldn't afford.
Yeah.
But the Indians had the formula. They could produce it and make it at an affordable rate to save Africans at a quarter of what the Americans are selling it for. But Pfizer didn't want to do that. So what we're going through right now, people forget that's what HIV/AIDS was back in the 90s. And that's why I'm like, people nowadays seem to be more concerned about pregnancy than they are about HIV. They're like, hey, Mr. Kiapate ball.
I remember back then, even the government used to, when you're in primary school, they bring these cinemas showing
those
us
things
these
were so gruesome
videos and photos. Like HIV was really, really bad in the 90s.
Me, I have a question to you as a dad who's so like in touch, with your kids. When do you plan to have the sex conversation with them? Like it'll arise. Have you thought about how you're going to explain sex to your kids,
honestly,
your daughter, your son?
Right now, with my son, I think I can be able to but with the daughter, maybe with time, of course, I need to have the conversation with her. But if that time is now, I think I'll be a bit lost on what to talk to her. But with my son, I have a lot, because it's from my mistakes and things maybe I know, personal experiences, it'll be like a story. But with the girl, I don't know.
You'll be fine, imagine.
Yeah, I'll be fine. With time, I know I'll be fine, because, parenthood also you learn as you go. So,
you guys all have kids, and you have 2. You have 1 on the way. Let's talk about fertility. Did you ever feel like at any point of your life, am I going to have kids?
Ooh, I think every man has
young
gone through
couples
that.
Are trying to have kids.
Every man has gone through that.
I think even just starting it as I'm, I've gone through it, campus, wildlife, man. You're going through life. And everybody, even guys I went to school with, Uko in Russia, guys had kids and And I've never had a situation where, a chick has come and said, yo, niko na boy. So that thing has played with my head for a long time. Where I'm like, yo, can I really? But the thing is, I've always been safe.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I go back, the background of HIV, I understand it. I've always been safe. So in the back of my head, I'm like, it's probably because you're safe. But hey, man, who isn't safe? Everybody's using strips. Hey, everybody, no. Wow. Yes, I'm not saying that because it's the brother-in-law. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that because for a fact, in the first time of my life, in my 34 years of life, is the first time somebody has told me, yo, I think I'm pregnant. But I've had, sexual relations with, in my youth, and I've made my mistakes, and there've been slip-ups, and even those ones, and nothing's ever come up. So you start thinking and being a doctor, of course, you're like, You're like, okay, you have azotospermia.
Azotospermia?
It means you have a low sperm count or sijui nini. You start thinking, Okay.
As is so easy, go to store.
Hizo tu. So unajua tu kumbe una shoot blanks. Pako kwa zile za ama it's an advantage because at the same time I've never really had the urge that people have I need to reproduce offspring and nini. So it's never really bothered me, but at the same time it's thousands of labda mazee una shoot blanks.
Labda una shoot ma blanks. Hata mimi Wakenya wananiangalia vi weird. Nimekuwa married for karibu 18 months na sijafanya ile kitu bana. Lakini
ile kile pressure ni mbaya, lakini mbaya Wakenya mbona mko hivi mazee?
Wakenya na family au wote.
Wakenya mazee.
Is there anything that you think you deliberately make in your menu for fertility? Like as someone who is in the
as an aphrodisiac or something.
I don't know, aphrodisiac, fertility,
I don't know, but
so kuchinjia dem, for example, when you're hitting on your wife, what did you cook? What did you cook? Like, when you're trying to show her any vibes? Cause
no, I've never really tried cooking aphrodisiacs, but like in my when I was a bit younger in the early 20s and stuff, or even till now, like we've tried mukombero and stuff.
I see.
Yeah, and then sometimes like after an escapade, and then you are needed to perform again. Let's say in 1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
That's when you like that thing of eating jugos, boiled eggs, with watermelon, the seeds and stuff.
Was it all these meats?
I think they're just meats, but as long as you feel good in the head, it can work.
For sure, I think the groundnuts are something that really is good for your doctor advice.
I think
now,
it's just a placebo.
Let me just say, because a lot of people don't. I've been in Nairobi too long. Me, I'm a Pwani boy, born and raised in Mombasa.
Oh man, I had porn boy. I was like,
what?
Porn
boy.
Pwani, mi mtu wa Pwani bwana.
Alright.
It's like asa guys of Njugu, you guy of
mtu wa Pwani. So Slit.
Nakufa leo na.
Chama ni slit.
Slit.
So, Pwani, all those things, man. It's like it's so important for masculinity in Pwani, being able to reproduce or being able to perform. So they have in Pwani we have what we call supu ya pweza.
Oh yeah.
Supu ya pweza is octopus soup. Yeah, they get octopus.
Shout out Octopizo.
Yeah. Number 9. Yeah. So they boil it up, and they believe that so a lot of seafood. So I came to know in Lamu that even turtles, and it's so unfortunate because those are endangered species. They believe that turtle soup and turtle meat.
Even in Asia,
they believe that it gives you, that fertility. That's what happens in Pwani. Some turtles get killed because somebody is trying to, Viagra himself in quotes in our culture. But that's just culture. That's masculinity. It could be toxic, especially when you have to kill an endangered species. So I'd call that toxic masculinity, just so that you can rub your ego
libido.
With your libido to say I performed, and because nilikunywa supu ya pweza na supu ya turtle.
Lakini sasa in the pharmaceutical world kuna nguvu za kiume sasa ukweli. Sisi zile Dr. Abdalla sijui kitu amepotea. Hizo vitu mazee zinatumika sasa na vijana so much. There's so many young guys out here who are popping, Viagra and other things, So like
popping, why?
I don't know, man. I saw statistics somewhere that the age group of people using Viagra is now moving lower and lower.
Unajua shida iko wapi? Okay, not in a bad way, lakini we're watching too much porn. And porn is giving this image that the man has to have this type of dick size and has to perform in this, because people don't understand that this is acting, that these people do take one, pause and then come back, take 2, and then combine that in an hour. So I say watch, say maze, Mimi dem, it has to be 1 hour, I have to be like this, so it's already in your head. So you have this pressure where you don't even know that your average dick size is not big, it's just 13 centimeters. Ukikuwa 13 centimeters uko sawa, wacha pressure mingi. That's the average dick size. The anatomy of, but because you've been watching porn and kuna kina mandingo and all those things,
I can see we have
kila mtu ana watch porn. Na kama watch porn shauri yako, and I'm sorry but ni facts. Hiyo ni facts. But you see that kind of, when you start, it's also the same issue I have with social media and comparing each other and you know, so many comparisons.
Comparison is a thief of joy, you know. People, you compare yourself with someone who's showing you highlights of their best self.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't compare yourself with a bodybuilder, somebody 10 years in the game. Nippon guys 10 years in the game unataka kuanza kujiko. How, my friend?
Maze, are there any vaccines that guys should get for STDs? Because I know there's a HPV vaccine you're meant to get when you're a teenager. Did you get it?
The HPV vaccine, in my teen years, I don't think I got it.
It wasn't out yet. It's something that's been, it's not very
old.
It's
new.
Yeah, it's a bit newish. In my days, there wasn't the HPV vaccine, but actually right now, what's happening, trust me, so this is a very good topic, because as a pediatrician, I know about the vaccine, what vaccines you should get as a child. So from 9 years and above, we need to get the girls especially. We prioritize that because the accessibility of vaccines in Africa. Now, if you're in the West, the same way you can get a COVID vaccine booster shot and you can't get one in Africa, it's the same notion. So here in Africa, we say you get 2 shots of the HPV, which is the human papilloma virus. And this virus has been shown to increase the chances of you getting cervical cancer. And when you get rid of this virus, it has really shown more than 30% to reduce the chances of people getting cervical cancer, which is a major threat in Kenya. Cervical cancer is, I think, number 2 or number 3 of deaths.
Oh.
So you see the whole point of this vaccine, and it's very, very important for people to get it. But now, because we're prioritizing it for women, men can get the human papilloma virus and pass it on to the woman. But it's only the woman that can get the cervical cancer. The man won't get the cervical cancer. He'll just carry it and pass it to the woman. But when you're in a position of getting these vaccines to the men to cut off transmission to the woman, then it's better for you. But because we don't have that same accessibility, because we are shithole countries, as Trump likes to call us, we prioritize the women and say, let's protect the women, let them get it so that they don't get cervical cancer. So it's definitely very important. It's from 9 years. And recently, very recently, by the way, Kenyan scientists, Kenyan researchers have shown that you don't have to get 2 shots of the human papilloma virus vaccine. You only need one shot, making it more accessible to more women and more African girls across the continent, and meaning that no more cervical cancer, bro.
Hey, man.
By the way, so HPV on women it causes cervical cancer.
Yeah.
So as a man,
we just carry it. We're just the transporters. No, it can't cause anything. It can't cause prostate. It can't. Basically, hiyo unaona sasa vile COVID iko na hiyo spike protein. Hiyo virus iko na protein specific for a cell on the cervix. So mwanaume kama hana cervix.
So as much as I would want to, let's say, to protect my partner, how will I know I have it?
Okay, it's hard to know. Yes, you probably can. It's not a common test to have, but you can have a test to check for human papilloma virus. And that's why they're vaccinating at the age of 9. There's a reason they do that. Because they expect that by 9, this child is not sexually active, because that's how you get the human papilloma virus. So you try to get it then, you vaccinate, so that when this child is sexually active from 9 years and above, at least you know she won't contract the virus. So the only way you can pass it on is once you become sexually active. It's a sexually transmitted disease.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about marriage, contraception in marriage. There's contraception before marriage as well, by the contraception period. But a lot of men are not willing to have vasectomies. When we were speaking outside, we were just talking about vasectomies, and everyone was like, "Eh, irreversible." So you got married, 2 kids, Are you adding a third? Or when you want to stop with your wife, who's going to take the contraception? Do you want to take it or do you want your wife to take it?
Honestly speaking, right now I think my wife.
Honestly, even me, I can't really say make myself a saint. I nominate my wife. She's a gangster. She's more gangster than me. But I'm actually willing to look into a vasectomy. There's something about, I think maybe the information is not really out there. The same way COVID was so scary the first few months it was announced. So I think with vasectomy, the lack of information. So even for me, I feel like, back in the village when you used to castrate a bull, when you castrate a bull, we usually say you are taming the bull. So for me, vasectomy is not castration, but it's, I don't know, it feels something along that way, that line. Hey, Daktari, I need you to just tell us something about vasectomies because I'm tired of putting this burden on our chicks. First of all, I know that different contraceptives have different side effects.
Burden
on our women. And talk to us, man.
First of all, no man has any say over a woman's body, whether she's your wife, whether she's your sister, you don't have, that's her body. She has every right to do what she wants. If she doesn't want contraception, then you need to figure exactly it out. So if she's done her research and she says, this stuff is making me feel this way, the woman, number one, straight up, even when it comes to life giving, by the way, the woman says, this thing is not, I'm not feeling it or whatever. Maybe you want this baby badly, but she's the one who's carrying it for 9 months, man. That's not easy. What happens in the body is crazy. And if you've witnessed birth, you'll understand that shit is crazy.
Were you in the, were you there when your kids were being born both?
As these pandemic babies, they don't allow extra
people in the theater room. Man, we need to talk about that thing where the father is just not excluded. In Kenya, you're just not excluded. I mean, you're not included in the birth process. There, you're just by the way, you're just that extra guy there.
Yeah, because for me, at some point, like my firstborn was quite huge. It was around 4.3. So, and they were struggling to pull him out. So at some point when I was waiting outside there in the waiting area, I saw a nurse running and then coming back with some pipes. So apparently, don't know, the doctor was asking for a pump. And I think
suction,
suction, something like that.
Suction tubes.
It was taking quite a while, and he had started, to sort of lack air and stuff like that. So when the day after when she was recovering, she told me that it reached a point where his shoulders are quite huge, and then they had to send a nurse running to get the suction. I was running. That nurse was not even running; he was just sluggishly jogging back.
So you're thinking the nurse is running?
It happened.
That nurse was just
so she 4.3 normal delivery?
No.
It was a cesarean?
It was a cesarean.
Okay. Because that's a big baby.
Yeah,
anything above 3.5 is a big baby.
He was huge.
So 4.3 I can understand. So basically they're just preparing, because the fact that it's a big baby, it's harder to come out of a small place. So there's possibility that the baby is out, the placenta is no longer providing oxygen. So the more they're out there or struggling to come out, it means they're not getting oxygen. So when you don't get oxygen, your tissues, your everything fails. Your heart collapses, your lungs, and they need that oxygen, that first breath. So you have to prioritize. So one of the things is that they can take in the fluid, the amniotic fluid sometimes. But you try to be ready for anything. If there's fluid, we can suction it out. So for us as pediatricians...
the suction was to suction fluid?
Yes.
I thought it was to suction the baby out. No. That's what I thought all along.
So what happens? And you see, that's why we have to have these conversations. Because, the thing is... The doctors are always in such a rush. We are so few. I have to sort you out. I tell you, hey, by the way, kulenda hivi. And I have to go and tell another person, and then another person, and another person, because we're not enough. We don't have enough pediatricians to be able to provide you with the same information. So nobody told you. And I don't blame them. Maybe they were just, hey, maze hapa niko na like 4 patients wamezaa. And you have to tell them, because in that hospital, and you have another 3 in another hospital, and then another 2 in another hospital. So, it's
the biggest day of your life is a normal day in the office for somebody.
Exactly. Else. So even that jogging, I say, huyu ni mwingine tu 4.3. Wanakuanga hivyo bro, wanakuanga hivyo.
I was like, that was a person running.
No, unajua kwa nini? Because of all the work, all the hard work they do, all the hours they pull, none of those big hospitals that make all those billions
ever of shillings
ever motivate them or ever pay them enough for them to perform. But they still perform, bro. They still bring your kids to life. They still do it.
Shout out to our frontline workers, man. You guys are amazing.
And they're not supported the way they're supposed to. So I don't blame her. Unajua labda maybe when things are different.
Na feel hapa Kenya maze, after wasanii, the people who are beaten the worst as doctors.
Walai.
Like when any Kenyan is frustrated, they just go, Kenyan artists! The number 2 is doctors, and you're both. So like I commend you for just being a strong human being,
Maze tupambane na hii hali.
But tell me about contraception in terms of what can I do to be the guy who is now taking the contraceptive. Is there a pill I can take?
Man, there's pills nowadays for men.
Really?
Whoa.
There's even women can have certain condoms if they don't want to put on those other things. There's vasectomies, of course, for everyone who wants a vasectomy. What else is there for
Can you take us through the process of vasectomy? There was a question of whether it's reversible.
Whether it's reversible.
Because that's the biggest fear that guys have.
Is it really reversible?
I can't go into detail because I'm not a urologist.
But is it reversible?
To some extent, yes.
Then.
But you still have to go back in. You still have to go back in.
If your chick is taking whatever contraceptive they're taking, by the way, it also affects them in a way where it reduces their chances of.
Mimi ile najua vasectomy kama umekatwa.
Ndio.
But if you can go back, unless you are a really, really, talented guy, then you can. It's not easy going back. But ukishakatwa umekatwa.
Hey, once you go bald, you don't come back.
But look, don't coach me. This is my very deficient urology medicine. I don't want to be quoted. I don't know what's happening nowadays. But for what I know, vasectomy, we are cutting the cord and we tie both sides. It happens. So
are the pills we are taking as men, are they available in Kenya? And what are the side effects?
They're available, but those would be now private. So it's not one of those things like, family planning is also a thing that needs to be accessible to all. So if you want to get the pills, you're going to have to buy them.
Yeah.
They're quite costly.
Yeah.
But if we do have family planning programs in Kenya, the same way, it's mostly female, you can get like an implant device and all the other things. They can issue with condoms. They can issue them with the pills, the contraceptive pills, mostly for the women. And that's absolutely free. But like I said, yes, we are an informed nation. We have privileged people, but at the same time, we are a very developing shithole country, and you can't afford everything that you need.
Ombachi, you're an athlete, accomplished by the way. You've gone to Olympics. You've won medals and trophies and cups worldwide.
Yep.
Like decorated athlete. What state of mind do you need to be in to be an athlete? What mental health do you need to be an athlete?
To be an athlete, of course, for you to succeed to be an athlete is hard work, and for you to be able to be a hard worker, sometimes you have to be a bit ruthless on yourself, a bit unforgiving, because we always say that for a game to feel easy, you have to train twice as hard as, let's say, you'll feel tired in a game, and of which is not. It's not easy. So as an athlete, you're always on that state, like, you have to be at your top level, whether it's on season or off season. You're always trying to, let's say, it's with maintaining your body, upgrading your skills and stuff. And to an extent, it's a bit selfish, because you'll find that you will neglect a lot of other aspects of your life, because I even found, like, when I was seriously actively in sports, like, I was actually just focused mainly on the performance bit of sports. Like, pushing myself in the gym, as in just focusing on rugby. And that's when I realized like a bit of the life outside here was passing me, because as much as I was really focused on delivering because sports is about delivering. Nobody cares who you are. At the end of the day, mwezi enda huko nje, then you win matches, you are nothing. So at that point is when, and when you're in sports, it's like you're in a community. It's like you are in campus. Like the kind of friends you'll have there are just you'll find yourself surrounding people with yourself with the people in your career, the field. So it reached a point, you first of all realize that there are a bit of these other soft skills that people outside here have that let's say you're lacking. Because for us it's a bit easier it's easy for us to, let's say, play in front of a crowd of 30,000, 60,000 people. But once you take me out of that environment, like where I'm used, the people I'm used to, like it's a schedule. I have to wake up at 5:30. You get to training, training 45 minutes after this. You like soldiers. Basically, athletes are just like soldiers.
Yeah.
But outside here, like we lack those soft skills of just, let's say, something, let's say an important one, just selling yourself, Like you have all these achievements, but if you are put in a room, someone else seated on the other side, you're seated here, and then you're told sell yourself to that person.
It becomes difficult.
You have all these things, but bringing them together, how to relate, on the outside world it's a bit different. And those are a couple of things that since I'm transitioning now from sports into...
Able tell me about that. So you said you're retiring.
Yeah, I took at this rate it looks like I'll be retiring, but I took a sabbatical leave because of my kids, because it was a bit hectic. So I said until next year. But the mama at home, right, saying now everything is a bit up and down. She's against me going back. I'll try. Yeah, like right now things have changed. Even like with the kids, I find like my primary focus is like providing for them and just being around them. Because if it's traveling, for the 10 years I've been away, I've been playing sports. I think I've traveled more than enough. And you find like in a year, you guys almost half the year you'll be away. And then now with like a really, really young family, and I really want to be present, because this is like the crucial age. I don't want to come back like they're a bit teenagers and they're even more best friends with the nanny than me. Me, they just see me coming back in and out. Yeah, so I'm like with sports, I'm happy with the achievements I've done, no regrets. But because also when I was in sports, I had neglected a lot of my social life outside here. So as in you came out of sports, you're like, fuck, what else can I do,
When did you have the urge to become the roaming chef?
The roaming chef again, it's from sports. Sports made me who I am, gave me a lot of things. So in a year, we used to travel to, let's say, 12 to 18 destinations. Those are 18 different countries. So in 18 different countries, we usually hosted in a hotel, and we go out on tours for ourselves. So in every different country, you get to sample like all the different cuisines and stuff. So back in then, that was almost 11 years ago, 2009, 2010. I used to come back, and then, because that's when I realized that there is more out there than just pilau, chapati, and everything. Because like when I joined the team, I was straight from the village, because I'd just been in Nairobi for like 2 years. So even the opportunity to get to eat those kind of foods in the restaurants we have over here, I didn't have. So once I go to travel is when I actually go to experience these international cuisines. Yeah. And so when I came back, I decided I'm going to teach myself how to cook. And of course, I didn't want to go to, let's say, Utali Culinary School and stuff. So I'd say the easiest way is YouTube. I can pause anything, I can rewind, come back. And that's how I started to teach myself. And I just picked one person, and that was Gordon Ramsay. I said, I'm just going to copy this guy until I'm comfortable. Now I can branch off.
What? Hey, man. I'll say that your page is food porn. I come there all the time when I'm hungry, to just accelerate, my enzymes, man.
But food. For me, apart from that, it was therapeutic for me. Like there are lots of times, because as a professional athlete, of course, injuries will be there. I've been through the knife 5 times, and sometimes, like when I broke my leg, you're out for like 6 months. So, and if you really have got nothing to keep yourself busy, it can really take you to a dark place, of which it took me a couple of times, but through food, I also find it was a means of me to release. Because at the end of the day, you go into the kitchen, you sort of have these ingredients that really don't make sense, but you bring them together, and the end product is usually that a dopamine effect. You don't really have to eat it, even if you see someone enjoying. Because most of the times I cook, because I've cooked a lot, or cooking for myself, I don't really enjoy it, but there's that feeling when you get to see the smile on the face of people who enjoy your food.
Hey, that's
so
like
for me, that
like
kept me sane for a while.
When you perform,
and actually cooking is very much like songwriting, in the sense that in songwriting you have the words, you have the beats, you have everything. These are ingredients to make an amazing song, and you have to cook it until it marinates, it simmers, it does all these things, and it's a good song in the end. I said in an earlier podcast.
Art,
cooking is art,
man.
I definitely.
We did 5 versions of Susanna before, 4.
Because I usually tell people, for you to realize cooking is art, because I don't advocate. I started with following recipes. Of course, if you want to start cooking, you have to follow recipes. But I usually say, you keep following recipes, you'll never learn how to cook. Because if I give everyone here the same recipe, the food will come out differently. Because your heart, your soul, the effort, the love you put into the food, ultimately reflects on the
end product.
And even to the basics level, where I usually tell people, don't just follow a recipe, because a recipe will tell you cook the steak 2 minutes one side and flip it, but doesn't tell you your pan is not the pan I'm using. The gas cooker I have does not produce the same heat as your gas cooker. My oven at 180 and your oven at 180 are totally different things. So there are lots of variables in cooking, and you just have to go. You just have to go with the senses. You use your eyes, ears,
your taste buds.
That's the easiest way to cook. Once you learn, once you master how to combine the flavors, sweet, sour, bitter, umami, that's when now you're comfortable in the kitchen and you can find your way around it without a recipe.
100.
I hit on my wife through cooking for her. She was new in the country, so I took advantage of that, and I made her a lot of Kenyan dishes that are easy to make. That was the last time I cooked, but I think she's leaving me here. But what's the recipe you make, Dr. Rain, when you made Adele dinner for the first time? What did you make?
Wow.
Because for me, Dr. Rain's dad is a chef.
Yeah. For me, being a son of a chef.
Ulipika pweza? Supu wa pweza?
Uzuri, the first place I took her for vacay was Coast, because
that's your hood.
That was my hood. It was very smart of me, because I was like, mazisi sasa utampeleka wapi? Siwezi mpeleka out of this country. Sijui story kwa aje. Like, you know what? Let me take her to a proper coastal Pwani vibe. And she loved coast. She loved, seafood dishes. But I would say from Pwani, the thing that nilingizade box nayo, achari. Kama hamuku mnulia achari
nile maembe.
Achari is the dried mango. Achari is dried mango.
The red one.
You can do it plain with a bit of sugar.
So you made the dry yourself?
No. I bought it. I just knew where to buy it in Nairobi. Come on.
But I'm talking about you're deciding to cook.
But my go-to is
what's your go-to meal?
So I've always grown up with Kenyan dishes, basically. I've never really had to go to the kitchen because I was the only guy. All my life, sisters too. So cooking and whatever, I was never really obliged to go and cook and stuff like. But I was always in the kitchen. Because my dad was a chef, so it was never this thing of masculinity of wewe ni mwanaume, sit in the living room, the ladies are in the kitchen. As in, I came to learn in my wife's traditional
even in
culture.
Tradition, you can't be in the kitchen, man.
I came to realize, bro, I can't go in the kitchen when I'm in my wife's house. It's not allowed. for me to go into the kitchen. And so for me, having a dad that was a chef, it was like, okay, you can go to the kitchen, go and peep, but I didn't really have to do anything. Right. But now where he says traveling, so now as I started traveling, when I did my medicine, I did it abroad, and we didn't have like a mess or a cafeteria. You had to cook for yourself.
In
so
Russia.
That's in Russia.
Minus
bro.
40 degrees.
Minus. Bro,
place
and it's
is
not
different.
a lie. It's not a lie.
But then you also played in Russia, coincidentally. So you guys
but the
are both
good thing
Russia
about
boys.
that place is salmon was cheap.
Okay.
Yeah, that's yeah, like
And
you know
it
when
was so good.
that's the reason why
Yeah.
that's the reason why siwezi kula salmon Kenya, because salmon there, you see the way tilapia is here and
It's
whatever.
like not even tilapia in this ngege or
Yeah.
nani patch.
Inapatikana
It's so cheap.
tu,
It's all over
inapatikana
the
tu
place.
kila mahali. And
Actually,
then-
most of them like they just take out the caviar and sometimes they just throw the fish away.
and it's so fresh there.
Yeah.
The salmon you eat here, I'm like, bruh, how do you? It's like when I eat the
Iko na
salmon
jet
here,
lag
I
imetravel
can
si wapi na
I can
wapi.
feel baze. Imekula jet lag, imekula barafu ya sijui siku
Imechoka,
ngapi.
imefriziwa mara 10.
Imechoka.
It's
Huku
totally
unapata
different.
fresh imetoka kwa
Ngori.
barafu imeingia tu chwa. Sliced. You can eat it raw, bro. It's so rich and whatever. Anyway.
But you haven't told me your signature dish, bro. You know
So my signature dish. My signature
Kama
dish.
kipika. Wewe ndio mzee. Mimi na umse tunataka kuona signature dish nikipikia tu wife akikam home jioni. Hiyo siku unajua game time.
Okay, my signature dish, hands down for anyone, would be lasagna. That's the thing I'm comfortable in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's a lot to do with, I had like aunties who, my auntie was married to an Italian.
So you have that.
I grew up in that, and then in the coast, you can imagine all that,
In the coast,
lasagna, pollo mangiare, and all those things. So I learned it. And then my older sister is a chef.
Hey.
So, so I learned, and she taught me how to make lasagna when I was growing up. So it's always been, and then now when I came to taste different foods, different cuisines, Asian.
You spiced up your lasagna.
So my lasagna is not the lasagna, the textbook, like he's saying in the recipe. Like I'll cook lasagna the way I cook it.
Yeah, Dr.
But
Rain.
ukiikula utapenda. Yeah. Even though you know that lasagna maybe is cooked a bit different, the bechamel sauce that I make would be different. My pasta sauce will be different. Maybe the cheeses I use are different. But at the same time, it's lasagna. It's the same basic type of structure and formula you use, but you give it your expression. So that would be the Dr. Rain. This is my lasagna.
Your soul.
This is not your textbook or your Italian.
Yeah. Ni Dr. Rain lasagna.
Exactly.
They know where mili yako special bigani. Your page.
Honestly, I won't lie. I don't have any special meal or something
all the
like
meals
that.
Are special meals.
What's special to me, like, because I really get, it's like my attention span. Haikuangi long sana. They have lasted. Haikuangi long sana. So even like how I interact with food, because I like trying out like new recipes every other time. So like my favorite food most of the time is what I've just, mastered. Like right now right now I'm just trying to like get my hand around the beef Wellington. So once I believe like maybe next month, once I get it right, people will be seeing a lot of it and then they'll get tired of it. So for me, it's what I've really mastered at the moment, and I'm really...
That's your hit song.
Yeah,
so you're performing
actually, it's just like music. That's my hit song
Exactly,
that time.
Exactly.
I'll play it until I produce another one. But
Fantastic.
if someone, if I'm to impress someone, I'll always ask them, because I prefer asking like, what you do prefer, if it's chicken or I don't know if it's what, and then I'll find a way of making it the way they've never had it before. Because I don't want to cook you chicken if you tell me, okay, what's your favorite dish, maybe it's chicken and creamed spinach. Of course I'll know you're saying that because you had it somewhere in a restaurant. Why would I go ahead and make it the same you had it in a restaurant? I will try and make it a bit different, put my own signature, maybe a bit better, or if not, it doesn't have to be as good as the restaurant, but if you give it your own signature, it will be as good as the restaurant.
It's the heart and the soul.
Yeah, it's the heart and the soul you put into the food.
The last question, guys, I know I've kept you here for so long, and this question has to be, what is Kangaroo? What's Kangaroo? Kangaroo what? Kangaroo pouch.
Care.
Or Kangaroo Care.
Kangaroo
What is Kangaroo Care?
It's actually called...
You guys, these guys are dads and they're talking about Kangaroo Care.
Yeah. So the funny thing is that it was coined Kangaroo Mother Care.
Yeah.
So you know how a kangaroo has a pouch, yeah? Then the baby basically is inside the pouch, and basically it's a baby carrier. So this whole term was coined when we came to realize that premature babies who are born before time, yeah, to be specific, below 36 weeks or around 8 months. So when you have the baby skin to skin, there's a lot of things that happen. One is that you don't have to put this baby in an incubator because this baby is not able to keep the temperature like a normal person. Their skin is very immature. They lose a lot of heat. So you have to keep them warm. And when you keep them warm, and this is done within your arms, and this came about, by not having, by being in a position where you are an African country,
and you
can't afford incubators. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because the premature babies, you knew you had to put them in an incubator at the right temperature because their skin is too immature to, like whatever, retain the heat. So now when they realize that, when mothers keep the babies here, then we're able to regulate their temperature. And when we're able to regulate the temperature, we're able to metabolize, we're able to, all the things that need to grow and things are all optimal.
Wow.
So then that came about. And it showed, studies showed that when you do the kangaroo mother care, it reduces the mortality rate. It means that less and less babies will die from just simple thing as putting the baby next to the mother. But then later they came to realize, what if this mother is unable? What if this mother, God forbid, died after delivery? What if this mother delivered through cesarean section and can't see this child in some time? What do you do then? And that's when they started doing kangaroo care with the fathers. And they realized that skin to skin, the same benefits that a mother does,
a dad can also give.
The dad can also
Does it have to be your dad or any dad?
No, it's actually
any
your mom's
person,
boyfriend.
Near anybody.
Like what he's saying, because for me, kangaroo care first had it from the girlfriend. She was like, I'm going through, because first of all, she wanted to have a normal birth, but then, of course, the baby, I fed her too much, and the baby was quite heavy, over 4 kgs, so she had to go under the knife. But she told me that as soon as the baby gets to you, don't let them take him to the there's a nursery.
Exactly.
Don't let them take him to the nursery. Just take him with you. Take your shower. First of all, shower. Take your shirt off, and then make sure you are hugging each other skin to skin until when I've recovered, and then I got back. So that was the first time I had kangaroo care. The second time, of course, 5 weeks ago. Now with my second born, the daughter, that was automatic. That one I knew, and it was actually quite funny because, like, she was a bit uneasy. You can tell she's trying to reach for something, like when she was wrapped in there. But as soon as I placed her on my chest, and I think she felt the heartbeat, she immediately calmed down. Even her breathing calmed down and stuff until the mother came. So for me, I think what I take from that, apart from that mortality, complicated words and stuff, for me, like, it's sort of, I feel like I'm more connected.
Thank you
to my kids. Like, I feel like there's an essence that I feel like, okay, I've been there since minute one. I feel we have a strong emotional bond together with them.
That feeling of an emotional bond is very important because it means that psychologically your child will grow up to be, handle the stress.
Psychology starts at that time.
It starts at that time. It starts already at that time. And what you are feeling and what you have come to realize is that you produce a hormone called oxytocin. Yeah, this is also a pleasure hormone. It's the same hormone we get when we orgasm and things like that. So mothers also have that oxytocin hormone, and that's what lets down the breast milk. Like, that's why how a mom can be leaking of breast milk when she's breastfeeding, even without the baby there. But just hearing the babies cry or just thinking about her baby, she starts leaking. That's the oxytocin hormone. And we also have that hormone. And it also increases our dopamine, and we get this affection, of love, and we feel comfort.
Warm.
And like if you have stress, all your stress,
everything. Like I forgot everything at that moment.
The baby was crying, whatever. You two share that. And apart from that hormone, sharing that is that your skin to skin. On our skin, we also have good bacteria. What you have, the skin microbiome. So because you've been exposed to more bacteria, what you're giving your baby, you're exchanging in the skin, the different bacteria. Yeah, so that the baby can be able to protect itself from different pathogens and different skin diseases, because your number one immunity is your skin. Once pathogens pass through your skin, barrier. That's your first barrier. Then you have problems. So that skin to skin is so important. And number 3 for breastfeeding, because now the baby knows this is how it goes.
Because a funny thing,
did they come to your nipple?
Yeah, he was.
And they wanted to come to nyonya your nipple.
To my nipples, even such and then opening them all.
Yes. And then
I'm like, I'm not your mother. I know you can't see anyone right now.
Exactly. So it's also the one for breastfeeding. Because they don't see well, but they have a good sense of smell. And that's from your nipple.
Are you saying I produce milk?
No, not enough that the mother would produce, but because you also have some of these hormones, so they'll come to that nipple. It's actually a natural mechanism of them. Ukishawapata, if that was the mom, the child by themselves, you don't have to place them on the nipple. When you place them on the belly, they will crawl towards the nipple.
Even now, like while she's still a few weeks old, like when you're trying to put her to sleep and you're laying down, you put her here, she'll always crawl here and start suckling.
Yes, that's those are those hormones. That's the beauty about the science and the physiology of children and babies.
Sana uliza hivi, what's your grooming process? What's your process before you cut your hair? Do you have a ritual? Do you do a chant, a dance? Ufanya nini, Dr. Rain?
Before you cut your hair?
And how do you cut your hair actually, by the way?
So for me, after I shave, it grows it's really quick. Funny thing, I've always had a lot of hair. I'm actually surprised I'm bald. So it became, I couldn't go to the barber every single day.
Yeah.
So actually, the guy who schooled me, Gilad,
shout out bald man.
Gilad told me you go to the barber all the time. You don't shave your hair yourself. I'm like, dude, what do you mean shave? How do you do it? It's like, no, you just buy it, you get in the shower and you just start shaving. It's like, okay. So basically that's if I don't go for a proper
full treatment,
shave, because there's also the beard.
The beard
has to be sorted. The beard, I can't do it myself. So when I go there, of course, he does the head as well.
And the kisogo, how do you do the kisogo?
Now, before, kabla wende huko, there's work, you don't always have to be whatever, and you're wearing a mask anyway. So what I do now, in the shower, I shave my head. Na kwanza zamani nilikuwa natumia another product, sitataja. I used to use it, but then nikatendi launch ya bien.
Thanks for coming for the launch. It's so beautiful.
Then kulikuwa na gift. By the way, at your time nilikuwa nimekam nini nikaacha wife na hizo mavitu zote. Nikifika home mazee mara kuna shiabata, mazee kuna lighter, mazee kudos.
Kokobata, jojo bawe.
Mazee mavitu mo. Kapata paka kuna blades. And I was about to go and say, mazee nafaa kwenda kununua, yangu imeisha.
Ukapiga hizo blades za big.
Nikachapa hiyo blade ya big hiyo na kazebra hivi. Wow.
Flexible in action.
Paka baba, nowadays when I go to my bar, it just goes my beard.
Because
kama nimechapa hiyo big. By the way, it's simple. Naingia kwa shower, nachukua shaving cream, papa nachapa nywele, and then I just go like this.
Along the grains
along the grains to hivi to
how your hair is.
That motion. Nachapa tu kama mara 3 and I come them and shine, my crown is shining.
I think that's a skill because your hand-eye coordination.
So,
trust me. What you see in the mirror is, and the way your hand moves is totally different. Like I try, because me, I have an electric shaver. Yeah. Sometimes I try.
So I used to use those
to trim the beard. Kwa mirror. Ukienda hivi hiyo inaenda hivi. So basically you're going the other way.
Yes, you have to understand. Ukiangalia mirror, you have to think, opposite. Sasa ukitaka kwenda hivi unajua mirror pia. You have to understand. And then also shavers won't give you that clean, razor finish. I've always been a guy, even when I had hair, I've always been a guy for razor finish. If you're going to trim me, if I'm going to have a proper cut, if you've not given me a razor finish with the blade and nini, hiyo sio razor finish, because that brings out the detail. So now when I was using dick, that's the thing, it's you learn, you know, the more you do it, the better you become. But it's basically, and because they're so, the good thing with this is not zile blades hivi whatever, you can't really cut yourself because it's easy, they are flexible.
They're 5 actually, man.
As long as you just put the shaving cream and you just do, si umeshikilia hiyo kitu, like it's, you hold it like this and you go one, just like that.
But it's I think that simple, most people outside here, they are scared, including me, because the first time I tried shaving with those blade things,
you went against the grain of your hair, so you got bumps.
Yes.
The mafudhis.
Yes.
Wow, nilikuwa najikuna the whole week and I was in campus. So
yeah, you know, let me
imagine unajikuna the whole week.
Mazenda go campo.
Yeah, from that day it's like I got PTSD. So me from that day I use these electric shavers, and of course they don't get as close, but at least I know I won't get that irritation. So me, I don't know, you're telling me. Me, I actually thought you went to a barber and go there.
Hey, but Dr. Ray, I have to say, man,
how do you do
your
that
crown
yourself,
is shining.
Yeah.
And I'm so impressed that you do it yourself.
This is myself, bro.
Hey,
today I went to the barber and just touched my beard. But you see, that's the thing. I came to realize, like, a lot of people, like, even when I was trying to get to the razor finish when I came back, a lot of barbers couldn't do the walikuwa naogopa hiyo wembe. Because when you do the wembe, everybody starts getting these razor bumps and things like that. Yeah. But it all depends on how you cut your hair. You know, how you process it before that. So things like uko abroad, they'll get a steam towel and they'll, you know, make sure they steam to open up the pores so that, you know, when that hair comes out, the hair follicle, it's not like, you know, you're not irritating anything to cause that reaction.
Don't sterilize your head. Sterilize the blade.
Exactly.
So many times you go to kinyozi unamwagiwa spirit lita moja kwa kichwa you need to see poor by the skin sensitive reaction to alcohol.
One thing a friend taught me, and I every time when I go to my barber today, I usually tell him that apart from just applying spirit on the blades and stuff of the shaver, there's this thing, you know, where he gets hot water and then buzzes the machine inside there. And every time, like, the water comes out full of hair and stuff, full of all this gunk and scum. So since I learned that, every kinyozi I go, I usually tell them, ingize yo mashini kwa maji moto ndo tuanze. And every other time, it usually comes out dirty.
Damn! I didn't know that.
Steel, bring it out, but anything metallic, spray,
you know, I come bearing gifts
alcohol.
I come bearing gifts.
Hey, say no more.
Yeah, you know, bald men do love better because we're the love and we're the light.
Thank you.
Ikutakosaje, bro?
Ndo hiyo iko hapa
ndani. Flex 5.
Jibambe nayo mazee brother, yani nimefurahi kuona that unaitumia na unaitumikia
vyema. Wallahi, na sio ya uongo, sio ile ya whatever.
Najua, unajua
mbaya tu. Zile tu eti mazi wacha nini.
Zafudhi.
Ba.
Nitakutumia cheki. Grooming chef nitakutumia tutorial on how to shave your head.
Dr. Ray, unatufanya tutorial.
Tufanye tutorial.
Head hygiene. Baldman head hygiene.
Nitawatia
because mimi nikienda hivi kamera hiyo mira inakuja hivi.
Simona vile nimekuwa.
Hiyo shida, coordination ndo shida.
Nitaonyesha.
Anyway, guys, man, I'm so grateful for the both of you making time for this set. It's been spiritual. It's been so spiritual. And I'm praying to God to grant you guys happiness, health, strength in your families. Hapo kwa hiyo gani ni kipara culture by the way, unapaka tu shiabata kwa kichwa after kushave.
Hiyo kitu by the way unaweza.
Mimi shiabata pia unaweza paka huko down.
Kila mahali by the way, shiabata everywhere. Lakini for your scalp it's good because it's sunscreen. It's natural sunscreen.
It's sunscreen?
Yeah.
Shiabata?
Yep. Natural sunscreen. So get yours, brothers. And until next time, bald men out.